Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sky Observers Hangout. We're so glad you could join us. My name is Michelle, and I am the Director of Public Observing at the Adler Planetarium in Chicago, and I have an awesome friend joining me tonight, and that is...
Me. I'm Adriana. I am the astronomy educator at the Adler. We've got some other friends joining us behind the scenes tonight. So, our YouTube chat moderator is Sarah, and answering your questions in the chat is our astronomer friend Geza. So, if you see the Adler's name highlighted in yellow, that's going to be Sarah. And if you see a name with a blue wrench next to it, that is going to be Geza in the chat helping us by answering your questions and your comments. So, if you've got questions, ask them.
Yes, please do. Now, Sky Observers Hangout is a place for us to gather together to nerd out about the sky. And our goal is to give you practical tips and information that you can find useful about lots of things related to sky observing. If you want to just watch us, that is perfectly fine. Sit back and relax. We would love to see your questions and observations, though, in the YouTube chat. So feel free to interact with us and with each other.
Absolutely. We genuinely love hearing from you. So, to get this show started, tell us in the chat where you are tuning in from. And as an added bonus, tell us if you saw the 2017 solar eclipse. What was your favorite part of that experience?
Now, while you do that, take a second. While the Adler's doors must remain closed, we are doing our best to keep our virtual doors open by creating and sharing some out-of-this-world content for you. If you wouldn't mind, use the link that Sarah is going to put in the chat in just a bit to donate what you feel comfortable to contribute to our programming. Thank you so much, so much. We really appreciate it for allowing us to keep sharing our universe with you. Now, before we get started tonight, we wanted to encourage all of our viewers to check out the Adler's online space comedy show called Wow Signal. It is super fun. It's sort of like what would happen if a musical variety show went to space camp and came back singing about black holes and aliens and stuff. There's a new episode airing on YouTube all about parallel universes on Tuesday, June 29th at 8 Central. So please tune in.
Absolutely. You can also help us to get more visibility for our shows by hitting subscribe to the Adler Planetarium's YouTube channel right below this video. And if you like us, you can give us a thumbs up too. Now, we would also like to give a big thank you to the sponsor of tonight's Sky Observers Hangout episode, ITW. This solar eclipse may be partial, but our appreciation for your support is total.
Oh my goodness, that is so awesome. Anyway, Adriana, I know where you were for the 2017 solar eclipse. What was your favorite part about seeing that eclipse in the sky? What did you like the most?
Oh my God, it was so exciting. It was my first total solar eclipse. So it was very exciting simply for that reason. But I didn't totally register that when the total solar eclipse was happening, that there would be 360 degrees of sunsets all around. Like I understand now why that happened, but I just wasn't expecting it. So it was just very crazy that it happened all at once, and to actually get to see a total eclipse for the first time was really exciting.
That was cool. Well, I know that we were all in Carbondale, so you were there. And my favorite part was just being around so many people who were all there to do one thing, and that was look up at the sky. 14,000 people in a football stadium at Southern Illinois University Carbondale's campus. And we were only there for one reason, to look up. That was it. And share that experience together. So that's something that I'll never forget, that feeling of being around so many sky observing people all at the same time.
Yeah, it was incredibly exciting. I am excited. Some of you have also were able to see it. I'm seeing in the chat. So let's see where people are tuning in from tonight. Hello. Some people saw it. Some Adler volunteers saw it in Kentucky. That's very cool. In Homer, Glenn, hello. Went downstate for the 2017 eclipse. So did we. Very cool. Love the 2017 eclipse. Best part, clouds parting just in time to see the event in San Francisco. We had the same situation. I was very concerned that it was going to cloud over. So we didn't see all of totality. We saw part of it because from where we were standing, there were clouds in the way for part of the time. So I was worried it wasn't going to happen.
And what's really crazy is I was about 200 feet farther north of Adriana, and her view was a little bit different than mine. Feet,
Yeah.
not miles, feet.
Yep.
So it was crazy. Anyway, go ahead.
Excellent. Seeing people from Villa Park, Illinois. Hello. A great collective moment. I so agree. From Indianapolis. Totality location for next eclipse. Hope for no clouds. Us too. Thank you all for joining us. We are super excited that you're all here.
All right, let's get right to it. All right, if you are here watching us on June 9th, 2021, you might know that there's a solar eclipse coming up tomorrow, June 10th, 2021. A little bit of this eclipse is visible in the Chicago area, in the eastern United States, and in much of Canada, plus a few other parts of the world. And we're going to walk you through where and when to see this eclipse. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to pull up timeanddate.com, which if you are a fan of Sky Observers Hangout, you will recognize that we like timeanddate.com. And give me just a second. I need to change one quick thing on my browser, and now I can share timeanddate.com. There it is. All right. Okay. So timeanddate.com, very useful site. And if you go to the sun and moon drop-down menu and you go to eclipses and you click that, you'll come to this page and they'll just have the next eclipse that will be visible up on that page. So we're going to click June 10th, 2021 annular solar eclipse. And by the way, Sarah is going to add the link to the chat in just a sec if you didn't catch where this is. So we are going to scroll down just a little bit. There's a detailed eclipse path map. If you click on the pop-out icon, it will bring that up, and that will show where this eclipse will be visible. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. There we go. All right. So anywhere in the colorful areas of this map will be able to see this eclipse. Now, this particular map might be a little hard to visualize, so I'll show a slightly different version of this map in just a second. We'll talk about what that red colored path means in just a bit, but you can click, one thing this map is really good at, you can click on the map, and so I'm going to zoom in. And you can click and it will show you the circumstances for that particular spot where you click on the map. So I clicked on Chicago and it shows that sunrise is at 5:15. The sun gets completely up at 5:18 and the eclipse ends at 5:39 in the morning. This is not a this is not a long eclipse for us in Chicago. But anyway, you can click on the map and see where you're going to be visible. So Adriana, can you walk us through? I'm going to click on another spot here. Let's walk folks through what we've got for what's here on the map.
Yeah, great. So what the information box says, at least, can you go back to Chicago, Michelle?
Yeah, I will go back to Chicago. There it is.
Great. So for Chicago, it tells you that the eclipse will already be in progress when the sun rises. That's why the partial begins line is grayed out. So the partial phase begins for our area when the sun is still below the horizon. So we won't see that part. At sunrise at 5:15 a.m. and at central time, the moon will already partly cover our sun. So the maximum line tells you that the eclipse for our area reaches its maximum as the sun clears the horizon at 5:18 a.m. Central Time. And as time passes, the moon will continue to move away from the sun from our perspective. So for our area, the eclipse is finished at 5:38 a.m. Central Time. It is pretty short, like Michelle said.
Yep.
But there are two other pieces of information in the box, and that is magnitude and the percent of coverage of the sun. So magnitude refers to what fraction of the diameter of the object is eclipsed. 0.3523 means 35.23%. So in this case, from Chicago, a little over 35% of the sun's diameter is covered by the moon at the eclipse's maximum point at sunrise. The other number tells you how much of the sun is covered by the moon overall. So in Chicago's case, that's 23.29%. So in total, about 23% of the sun is covered by the moon as seen from Chicago. These numbers are going to be different depending on where you are viewing the eclipse, so keep that in mind.
Exactly. So if you click on see animation of how it will look, what pops up is a greatly sped up animation of the eclipse for that particular area. So let's see Chicago. So I just popped it up and I will hit play, and it's again going to greatly speed this up. It tells you speed 50 times, 10 times, so on. So it'll slow it down. And as you can see, the moon is already moving off the sun at that point. So only 20 minutes for this one. If you look down below the animation box, we've got more information here. And in this list includes the direction that you need to look. So the direction number is listed as azimuth, and that is the angle from north. North is 0 degrees, and east is 90 degrees, 180 degrees is south, and so on. In the case of Chicago, we need to look at 43 degrees or 42, 43 degrees of azimuth. From due north. So if 0 is north and 90 is east, basically this means we're looking northeast. And there is also an altitude number. If the altitude number is negative, it means that whatever that is, that part is not visible. It's below the horizon for your area. Look for numbers above 0. So the angle refers in this case to how high the middle of the sun is, the center of the sun, as seen from your location. What you need to do is make sure that wherever you're looking, you can see down to whatever that angle is in the sky. In this case, this is basically down to the northeast horizon. The best place to do that, we get asked that question a lot. What is the best place to go to? In Chicago's case, the best place is probably the lakefront because the lake is east for most of the Chicagoland area. So the Lake Michigan lakeshore for us. Your specific best place to go will depend on how high the sun is in your specific location during this eclipse. All right.
Good point. All right. So if you go back to the eclipse map, then wherever you are, just type your location name into the location search box and you can get more detailed information like local start and end time and what you'll be able to see. You can also just click on the map. So we can type in another city here just to show you. Let's try Baltimore, Maryland.
Why not? We have fans in Baltimore. I know we have at least 2 out there in Maryland. So
Excellent.
we've got Baltimore up there. So there we go.
So if you are near or in the Chicago area, we also made a viewing chart to show you where to look and what to expect to see from this eclipse. Michelle can pull that up. There we go. You can access it if you follow our social media feeds. So this is another resource that you can use to help you view this eclipse in the Chicago area. If you aren't in the Chicago area, use the maps on the time and date website, just like we showed you, to see if the eclipse is visible in your location and where and when to look. I see Angela has already found out that it will not be visible in Washington. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Maybe next time, right?
You'll get another one.
But now you know using the time and date website, whether or not you have to get up at umpteen o'clock in the morning or not, you can sleep in. So there we go. If you're wondering how you can look out for upcoming lunar or solar eclipses in your area, I mentioned timeanddate.com is a great resource for that. Sarah is going to link to the eclipses page for curious folks and just search for any city that you're interested in. Then you'll get a whole list of not only what's coming up next, but other eclipses coming up in the future as well.
Great. So I think that so far Geza is on top of all of the questions.
As he always
Oh, here's one. Where can we watch this online?
Oh,
is there a live stream on Time and Date, Michelle?
Yeah, there is. So let me go back to Time and Date. Hang on. And by the way, we're not affiliated with Time and Date in any way, shape, or form. We just like their stuff. So here, let me go back to and show it to you. So I'm going back to Time and date. All right, so if you go to the sun and moon drop down and you scroll down and you go to live streams and you click on live streams, they will have a live stream for the eclipse tomorrow. I suspect it'll be weather permitting wherever they have their camera set up. So yes, you'll be able to see the live stream for this one. And
Very cool.
looks like they've got one coming up for the lunar eclipse coming up in November too. That's fantastic.
Excellent. One more question that I can answer real quick here. Do you need eclipse glasses? Yes. So anytime you are getting a solar eclipse, you do need to be wearing eclipse glasses, with the very short exception of if it is a total solar eclipse during totality, you can take them off, but that is a very small window. And this one is going to be a partial, at least in Chicago. So definitely have solar eclipse glasses. Never look at the sun without solar glasses. It is not safe.
Yep. And actually, even for this particular eclipse, literally everyone who will want to view this eclipse, even if you're in that red path, and again, we'll talk about the red path.
Because it's annular.
Yeah, it's annular. So everybody will need solar viewing glasses to view the sun. There will be no point that this eclipse will be safe to view with just your eyes.
Yes.
All right. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit as well.
Yes. Excellent.
All right.
So it looks like, I think that is all of them for now. So it looks like we've covered the basics of how to view the eclipse.
Yep.
And get the info that you need to see it in your area. Let's learn a little bit more about the science behind this solar eclipse, and a little bit more about how you can see it safely. So we've got a little bit more info on that.
Excellent. Now, a solar eclipse happens when the moon passes between the Earth and the sun. If the moon's shadow falls on the Earth, and if you are within that shadow area, you'll see the moon either partly or fully cover the sun, depending on the kind of eclipse it is. And so let's take a closer look at the types of solar eclipses. So let me go to the PowerPoint again. So I'm going to go back here. There we go. All right. There we go.
All right. So if you see the moon partly cover the sun, maybe it's a little bit or maybe it's a lot, but still not fully, that is called a partial solar eclipse.
Mm-hmm. So that's what we got here, plus some interesting looking clouds too.
Yeah.
All right. And if you see the moon completely cover the sun, that's a total solar eclipse.
Yes, excellent. But there is one more eclipse type. Oh, these are so cool. I love this picture. It's called an annular eclipse. The moon's orbit around the Earth is not a perfect circle. So sometimes the moon is closer to the Earth and sometimes it's farther from the Earth. On May 26, 2021, the full moon was a supermoon, meaning a full moon that is close to the moon's closest point to Earth. So the moon was a little bit bigger than average in our sky. This also means that the next new moon, just 2 weeks later, is at the moon's farthest point from the Earth. So the moon's a little bit smaller in the sky. Solar eclipses only happen at new moon. So that's the moon's phase tomorrow morning. And then during an annular eclipse, even at the eclipse's greatest extent, the moon does not cover the sun completely, leaving a ring of sun left around the moon. The Latin word for ring is annulus, so this is an annular or ring-shaped eclipse. That's not entirely dissimilar from the word in Spanish for ring, which is very satisfying to me. Okay, great.
What is the word in Spanish?
Anillo.
Ah,
yeah.
Learned something new. That was unscripted. That's cool. All right, so let's take a look at a video clip to see what this looks like from Earth and from space. So I'm going to share a video that our theater's friends at the Adler Planetarium created for us using the Digistar system. All right, so I'm going to hit play. And as seen from Earth, the moon passes in front of the sun, but since it isn't large enough to cover the sun completely, we see that ring of sun left around the moon. And so we're greatly speeding up time here. And there it is. That is the annular part there. All right. Now from Chicago, we'll see the moon cover about a quarter to a third, depending on which number you're talking about. there we go. So it'll look about like that. And from space, though, so we're going to see that near the end of the eclipse. So again, it's going to start while the sun is still below the horizon. We will see the very tail end of this particular eclipse. All right, so I'm going to let that run, and it's going to change the viewpoint here. So we're going to see the view from space. And so there we go. We've got the sun off in the distance. We've got the moon in between, and there is planet Earth. Now, this clip shows the moon's shadow moving across the Earth during a previous annular eclipse. This is not a video showing you tomorrow's annular eclipse. From space, the moon's shadow on Earth is kind of narrow, and so if you are within that shadow, you will see that eclipse. Now notice how small that shadow is. Take a look. Here, it's coming across. Again, this is not tomorrow's. This is a different one, only because the video didn't look quite right for the one we wanted to show. But take a look at that splotch. It is not huge, but see it appear to race across the surface of the Earth. If you're within that splotch, you'll see the annular eclipse. If you're outside that splotch, and you're still close enough, you will see a partial solar eclipse, since the moon will only cover part of the sun. There we go. So thank you to our theater's friends at the Adler Planetarium for creating that for us to share with you.
Very cool, yes. So going back to the time and date eclipse path.
Yep, I
Michelle's
will bring
pull
that up. All right, and I'm going to go back to eclipses, and then I'm going to go back to here. Okay, go ahead.
Excellent. So that red pathway on the map is where the moon covers the sun so that you can see that ring of sunlight around it. So if you are in that path and near the middle of it, the moon will be more centered on the sun. If you're near the edge of that path, the moon will be a little bit off center over the sun. So the farther you are from that red path, the less and less of the sun is covered by the moon.
Yep. So one other thing, we mentioned that the northeastern US and Canada will see this eclipse. If you're in Greenland and you happen to be watching Sky Observers Hangout, that would be great. But even a little bit, Europe will see a little bit of this eclipse, and actually far northern Europe will see a bunch of it as well, and into part of Russia. So this is covering a pretty wide area of Earth. But as you're seeing it, the moon's shadow is just kind of glancing over the top of the Earth. So this particular eclipse, so not everybody in our entire region is going to see it. But if you are lucky enough, you might be able to see this tomorrow morning. All right, cool. So now we get to show the equipment we might need to be able to view this. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
It is right, and we've been getting some questions. Geza has started telling us about what we are going to use, but let's get right into it.
Get right into it. You have something there that you wanted to show. Do you want to see what you dug out?
Yes, I dug out my 2017 solar eclipse glasses from the Adler Planetarium. Very high fashion.
Very stylish.
Thank you.
And so I've got them here as well. So if you are wondering if your glasses will be good to use, if you have them left over from the last eclipse, as long as they haven't been severely mangled and terribly folded, as long as there's no holes or anything, and you kept them out of humidity and water, if you have them like in an envelope or something in a drawer, they probably should be okay. Adriana, do you have your flashlight on there? And
I
there
do.
you go. Yep.
So you can move the flashlight around to test it out to see if there are any places where that light gets a little bit brighter, or if it's uniform throughout, you should see that light will stay the same brightness no matter where you put the light over the glasses. I have one kind of dark splotch. I don't know if you'd be able to see it. There we go.
See it. Yep.
That dark splotch right there. So I put my flashlight right up to it, and I did find that through there, my flashlight is a little bit brighter. So that means that this end of it is probably not safe to use. The other end doesn't have any splotches, and the light is uniform throughout. So I can look through this side.
Perfect.
Cover my other eye.
Perfect. And if you're just not sure, you just don't want to take any chances, you can cut off that offending part and toss that away, and then you've got it. So yeah, I've got a set of glasses from the Carbondale, Illinois Tourism Board. So this set looks pretty good. I did the same thing. I checked it to see if there are any holes, folds, rips, tears. It actually looks pretty darn clean. Then I saw this pair. Oh, you might see there's kind of a crease right there. See that? So
Yeah.
they're probably okay, but I just wouldn't take the chance. So I would not take these outside to go take a look. And then this set has a couple of holes in the bottom. See that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I would definitely not use these. The cats got a hold of this pair of glasses, and so they were kind enough to add on to the demonstration factor of this pair right here. So no folds, no creases, no tears, no rips, no smudges, no parts where you can see more light coming through. You're good to go. Tears, smudges, rips, creases, all that. Just best bet, throw them out. Don't use them. You don't want to take a chance with your eyesight. So, all right. So I've also got, in case you have a telescope and you wanted to give it a try, and you're going to see an interesting reflection, you're going to see Adriana on the screen because this is very reflective. This is a solar filter for a telescope, specifically for this telescope right here. It's made to go on the top. So I would slide this on and keep it nice and safe. So this is proper solar filter for a telescope. So if you have a telescope and you want to give it a whirl, that's fine too. You also can look through this. You can look through it at the sun in the distance if you really wanted to. So if this is all you have, that might work too. And then finally, if you're in an area where the sun will be higher in the sky to be able to see this eclipse, you may want to use a pinhole projector. It can be as simple as an index card and an index card. Stick a pinhole in this index card and shine the light from the sun, point the hole at the sun and shine the image of the sun onto this index card. Don't look through it. This is not for looking at the sun. It could be as simple as that. You can actually make a pinhole projector as well. This is my pinhole projector. All you need is a long cardboard box and a piece of aluminum foil into which you put a pinhole, which is right there. All right, so got a little pinhole right there. And then in here, I have a door and, a screen. So I point the pinhole at the sun, I shine the image of the sun onto the screen, and then I just have to open the little door and I don't have to worry about my head blocking the image of the sun on the back screen on the pinhole projector. And the pinhole projector, it also helps to have a box because then you can kind of close and darken the interior of your projector a little bit, and that'll help you see the sun a little better. And then finally, one thing to remember about pinhole projectors is the diameter of the image of the sun will be 1% the length between the pinhole and the screen. So if your pinhole projector, this one isn't, but if yours is, say, 5 feet long, your 60 inches long, your image of the sun will be 0.6 inches in diameter. So about that wide. All right. So one thing to remember, your image of the sun is going to be really small, but a pinhole projector is a great way to view an image of the sun, not to actually look at the sun itself.
Right.
All right. Do not point a telescope or binoculars at the sun unless you have specific solar filters that were made to actually view the sun safely. There is a way to do solar projection through telescope or binoculars, but if you have never done that before, don't do it tomorrow morning. Just wait, learn how to do it, and wait for another eclipse in order to do that. So,
yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
I don't think so. I saw those boxes out during the 2017 eclipse.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what they were using them for.
Exactly.
Steve has mentioned that a FedEx triangular tube is ideal for making a pinhole projector. Very good to know. I did not know that.
Yeah, they're nice. They're nice and sturdy. They can be pretty long. So yeah, a mailing tube is really good for that. But yeah, the FedEx ones are triangular, so they're easy to put together. So All right.
Okay.
Any other suggestions from folks? I love that we're sharing suggestions for how to see it.
I think that is what we've got for now.
Cool. All right. Well, let's go on. So when I was looking in our photo archive to choose an image to show you that represents something that's in our historical collection, so we have a world famous history of astronomy collection of books and works on paper and instruments and other things at the Adler, I found this one. So give me a second. I'm going to bring it up. All right. Give me just a sec.
No problem.
There we go. All right. It is a map showing the visibility of an annular solar eclipse in July of 1748. Quite a large part of Earth is depicted. So you can see there's part of North America over here. There's Europe over here. There's part of Africa here. This is all Asia, South Asia, and then the Far East over here. So the map shows the path of the eclipse across North America. So I don't know if you can see it, but my arrow is following the path of the center of the eclipse. So it goes across part of North America, across the Atlantic into Europe, and beyond across the Arabian Peninsula and on into South Asia and including southern India there. And there are drawings on the outside that show what the moon. Oh, actually, I'm going to bring up. So there we go. So we've got those marked there just to give you a little chance to see it a little better. But there are drawings on the outside that show what the moon and sun combo would look like from places like, there we go, Dublin and London. So here's Dublin right here. Here's Edinburgh. Here's London. So if you have heard of the solar horns, that phrase is making its way around. That's what this refers to.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so depending on where you are, if more of the sun is covered by the moon, you'll see just a crescent of sun. So that's what the solar horns is. So we've also got Paris, and Madrid, Vienna, Petersburg. I'm going to assume that's Petersburg, Russia, and we've got Rome. At the bottom of the map, it shows what the eclipse looks like from Quebec, which is within the path, almost within the path where the moon covers the sun completely. So it is pretty cool.
Great. Here we go. The map shows the area of the Earth where the eclipse is visible, and the darker path shows where the moon covers the sun almost completely. So this map did then what the time and date site does for us now. They basically had old-timey time and date.
Exactly. So if you had access to this piece of information, then you could learn all about that eclipse. All right. One additional detail is also really interesting. At least I found it really interesting. So the date on the map. All right. So let me stop sharing here. The date on the map is the year 1748, and the date of the eclipse on the map is July 14th. Actually, let me go back. I can show this. So there we go. And I'm going to go back. Oops. All right, so there we go. Here's the date part of the map. It says July 14th and then Roman numerals 1748. All well and good. Except if you look in the major eclipse archives, such as from the U.S. Naval Observatory or NASA, there wasn't an eclipse on July 14th, 1748. It was on July 25th of 1748. What's going on here? Well, it's a calendar issue and it's a religious issue.
I was very interested to learn this. So in 45 BC, Julius Caesar ordered a calendar consisting of 12 months based on a year defined by the sun. This calendar had a cycle of 3 years of 365 days, followed by a leap year that was 366 days long. During the Middle Ages, it became apparent that the Julian leap year formula had overcompensated for the actual length of a year. adding one too many days to the calendar every 128 years. So by 1582, seasons were falling about 10 days too early on the calendar. If nothing was done 128 years later, the equinox would have been on March 10th, and 128 years after that would be on March 9th, and so on. So some church holidays were getting really out of whack from when they were expected to happen, especially Easter, which means something had to be done.
Exactly. So in 1582, Pope Gregory the 13th authorized the, quote, Gregorian or New Style calendar. And to get the calendar aligned properly with the seasons, 10 days were dropped from the month of October 1582. So in Catholic countries that adopted the new calendar, the feast of St. Francis of Assisi was on Thursday, October 4th, 1582. And this was directly followed by Friday, October 15th. 1582. The date was the only thing affected, not the cycle of weekdays. Now, Protestant countries, however, including England and its colonies, did not recognize the authority of the Pope at this time, so they continued to use the Julian calendar past 1582, all the way to 1752. The date on this map is a Julian calendar date, so July 14th, 1748 would be written in the Gregorian calendar as July 25th, 1748. I just thought that was pretty darn cool. And actually, to full disclosure, I got tripped up by it because I was reading the map going July 14th, 1748. So I looked up Eclipse, July 14th, 1748, and everything came up July 25th. And I went, what's up with that? Oh, it's a calendar thing. So there you go.
Excellent. John says, hey, whatever gets you closer to Halloween.
Exactly right. By the way, the reason they picked that set of 10 days was there were no major saints' feast days in those 10 days. So a saint wouldn't get shortchanged by missing their feast day or some major religious holiday in those 10 days. So they looked and went, how about here? Everybody went, sure. So yeah,
Sounds good.
that's why that particular 10 days. So
Steve asks, how many people went blind looking at that eclipse unprotected? Probably about the 1748 one. Yikes.
Well, here's the deal. One thing, the sun has to be pretty far covered for you to even notice that there's an eclipse going on. If you don't know there's an eclipse going on, an annular eclipse, and maybe it's only 50% coverage or something, you're really not going to know unless you maybe are looking at the images of leaves, the image of the sun through leaves on the trees, like little pinhole projectors, seeing the shadows on the ground. You'll see those crescent shaped shadows. And there's other things that you could look for. The shadows around you would get a little sharper as you get a little farther on the eclipse. But honestly, more than likely, if you were unaware of the eclipse, you were completely unaware that it was happening. It's got to be like 95% or so of the sun covered or more for you to truly start to notice that it's getting darker around you. So, but I wonder, did they possibly use smoked glass? And what I mean by that is a piece of glass that has a lot of candle soot on it. You would hold a candle or hold a piece of glass over a sooty candle and just try to evenly deposit soot on the glass. Don't do this, by the way. Do not do this. But that's one way that people did look back then. Another way that you could use even today, look for the reflection of a solar eclipse on a body of water. You could on a pool of water. It could be a puddle, it could be a pool, it could be a really glassy lake. But that actually is an okay way to look. Just don't look at the sun with just your eyes or the smoked glass and that sort of thing. Unless it's proper welder's glass, because whatever you're looking through will still transmit infrared energy to your eyes. And that's where you're going to get the damage. Your eyeballs don't have nerve endings in them. And so you will get damage to your eyes and you won't feel it until it's too late. So do not use anything but proper solar viewing glasses or a proper solar telescope, properly filtered telescope, to be able to look at an eclipse. A solar eclipse, that is.
Excellent.
Lunar
Yeah.
eclipse, no problem. Solar eclipse, yeah, don't do it.
Yeah. Geza added soot-covered glass can work, but it is very difficult to get right. That's why you shouldn't try it.
Exactly. It's just hard to get the soot nice and even. I'm sure there were folks who were able to do it back then, and that was even popular 100 years ago, to be able to look at eclipses. But that reflection off of water is an okay thing to look at. It might be a little uncomfortable, but it's okay to look at.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, I think, oh, here we go. When is the next total solar eclipse going to be visible in the Chicago area?
Well, it depends on if you mean totality in Chicago or if you mean the next total solar eclipse where from Chicago you could at least get to the path of totality. That is Monday, April 8th, 2024. So there is an annular eclipse in between here and then. So that is Saturday, October 14th, 2023. And so the path of annularity for that one will go like through Albuquerque, and it's out in the Western US. From Chicago, I believe it's about a 43% solar coverage, so pretty good partial. But Monday, April 8th, 2024, from Chicago, we get 94% of the sun covered, which is really good. And the path of totality goes up through Indianapolis. So that's the closest point to the path. It's also going to be visible again in Carbondale, so in Southern Illinois. So that's the next one. If you're wondering about totality in Chicago, I believe it's 2099. I don't have the date of that eclipse.
Wow. I don't think I'm going to live that long.
It will clip the in the current place where Rogers Park is. The path of totality will clip Rogers Park. Adriana, you're gonna have to stick around for that one. You're gonna try to have to see it. You got to try to see it for me. Pretty sure best. I won't be around for that one, but
I will do my best.
All right. Excellent. Any other questions before we turn it loose for tonight?
I think that is all I see for now.
Excellent. Well, all right, friends, thank you for joining us tonight. Stay tuned to our social media feeds for future Sky Observers Hangout episodes, dates, times, and topics. Be sure to send us your photos and observations via our social media feeds using the hashtag lookup. Our final screen will have our social media feed information on there, so check that out in just a second. We know that you're out there, and we love knowing you're out there connecting with the sky, and so we'd love to see your observations. Thank you so much for joining us and supporting our programming. We truly do love sharing this time with you.
It's true. And tell us, how did we do? So we'd love to get some feedback from you. Sarah is going to link a feedback survey in the chat. It'll only take a very short time to fill it out. And if you have filled it out before, please go ahead and fill it out again so we can keep track of our improvements. It'll help us make our shows even better. And you can send us suggestions for future show topics. So you can also find the feedback survey link in tonight's program description. So if the chat closes before you can click it in the chat, do not worry, it's in the program description. Access it there.
And actually, a side note behind the scenes, Adriana and I went through your suggestions several weeks ago, and we took your suggestions and planned out our shows for the winter directly from your suggestions. So we look forward to showing that to you in a few months. But please, between now and then, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for joining us, everyone, and please keep looking up. Good night.
Have a good night.